Yo, what's up, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about autoimmune diseases. So, autoimmune disease is a name that or a term that we hear a lot in our society nowadays. And it basically is something that we hear more and more of. In Harrison's Internal Medicine, which is one of these books right here. Um, so, this is volume 1, and then volume 2. I just did my workout for today. They're heavy. So these two bad boys, if I'm not mistaken, last time I checked, there's 129 documented autoimmune diseases here. And these numbers just have been going up, and they keep going up, and we find more autoimmune diseases. But hold on, what's an autoimmune disease? Never heard of this stuff, or maybe I've heard of it and I don't know what it really means, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just gonna drop a few names of things that are autoimmune diseases, like rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, Sorin syndrome, myasthenia gravis, and the list goes on. Okay, there's a ton of them, and they can affect you, basically every system of your body, all the way from brain to joints to muscles to you name it. Okay, before we get into these mechanisms that we're going to talk about, I want you to understand that before what is practiced in traditional medicine hospitals is, let's say, approved and becomes mainstream, it's about 20 to 30 years that research, okay, actually gets adopted, on average, gets adopted into the hospitals, okay? So some of the things we'll be talking about, I believe eventually will make themselves into hospitals. And I'll give you a quick example. Like, for example, on the cardiovascular side, there's so much research now in regards, that's been going on for years, in regards to stem cells and the heart. Or on the nervous system, a different side of medicine, not cardiovascular, but now the nervous system, also for people that have had transected spinal cords, that are paraplegic. You remember, like Christopher Reeves or Superman, cases like him that are proving now to be successful with stem cells, right? Just an example. But it does take some time for a lot of things to be approved, because I know a lot of people are like, oh man, let's get these things approved faster. I do agree. But the process sometimes fails. Like, for example, a drug like Bicol, which was a statin, was suspected, even though it was approved, etc., suspected to have killed 31 patients. Or another drug like Vioxx, which it was suspected to be related to 140,000 non-fatal heart attacks. That's a lot. And 56,000 deaths. And just to put this into perspective, the Americans that were lost, unfortunately, in our Vietnam War was 55,000. 56,000 deaths with the drug, 55,000 deaths with our Americans, our country, in the Vietnam War. Think about that for a second. So, tells you we need to improve that system, right? But we also will be talking about other systems more prevalent in functional medicine that I don't know if it will ever be recognized in mainstream medicine. I can tell you, while I'm alive, I'd like to help to make sure that we look at medicine with a maybe more open mind, and not so much closed, narrow-mindedness, and look at the body as a functioning group of biological organisms that are all connected, not so compartmentalized. But anyways, getting into these autoimmune diseases. So autoimmune diseases, they're very prevalent, and in a nutshell, if I had to explain this to you guys in a nutshell, I would say it is an exacerbating environment of inflammation causing the body to react to itself. Okay, and the word inflammation is very, very common to many of us in our day to day. We use it back and forth, and but what causes this? So a lot of inflammation, and especially on the autoimmune disease side, will start at the gut. And I know doctors that defend that it only starts in the gut. Um, I leave that a little bit open, but and I can't tell you if if it's 100% at the gut or not, I really don't know. But I do believe that the gut, maybe 98%, is responsible for a lot of the autoimmune diseases. Now, what happens to the gut? At the barrier of the gut, we start to form a pathological phenomenon not yet recognized by traditional medicine called leaky gut or intestinal permeability. So what that means, you should have an image right now on the screen that's showing you how there's the cells in your gut, they start to break, right? There's these scaffolding proteins that are holding the cells together and they start to break. And now the things that you're eating actually start to, undigested, okay, undigested, they pass through that gut wall, all right, your gastric parietal cells, right? And they pass through the gut wall undigested and they go into your bloodstream. Now think about this for a second. If your immune system, which is in your blood, your T cells, your B cells, etc., they look and they see something there that they don't recognize because your body is highly, highly trained, most namely your immune system, to interact with things it only knows what it is. So all of a sudden it looks, those T cells, for example, they look at something that they don't know what it is. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to actually call their friends, the troops, right? Your immune system is pretty much your military. It calls the troops over and says, let's get this thing out, right? What they call an antigen. So they'll form an attack to those antigens, right? And eventually form an antibody complex, et cetera, et cetera. And here's the funny thing: your immune system doesn't forget what it has attacked ever in its life. Okay, and it will continue to form those antibodies, albeit less if it doesn't see that antigen or that attack again, but it'll keep those antibodies there. Now, again, think how profound this is. Imagine taking some potato chips or some bacon, some particles of that stuff, and injecting it straight into your bloodstream. You think that would be normal? No. Just tiny little particles of that undigested food into your bloodstream. Now, your body wouldn't know what that is, and your body would attack it, right? Well, that's kind of what's happening when you have that leaky gut. Those things are passing through those cells and going into the bloodstream, and your body's attacking it. Now, one thing that commonly does this is gluten. Gluten is, it's not like the gluten we had 2,000-3,000 years ago. Gluten today is highly processed, etc. And here's a concept. I don't want you guys thinking that the food itself is bad for you. It's what our industry has done to these foods that hurts us, okay? So the industry commonly will do things, or the food industry will commonly do things, for example, for the foods to have longer shelf lives, right? So they last longer. And if you want to test this out, I call it the backyard test. Take some of these foods, take a Dorito, take some potato chips, throw it on your backyard, and take a nice fresh banana, avocado, tomato, whatever, some nice fresh, high quality vegetable or fruit, and throw it right next to that other food you threw on your backyard and see what goes first. Not even the animals want our foods. Take some of that protein powder, throw it on your backyard and see if the animals will eat it. Throw it on an ant pile, see if they'll eat it. It's a really cool experiment. You'll be very surprised, right? So, and I just said protein powder. Yeah, I'm not. We at our company we don't suggest powders. I mean, that's highly processed. Just sits on a shelf. You can eat it months later. No, we eat high quality food. And we'll talk about we've actually just recorded our last one was on diet and fitness. So go listen to that one, and we'll further talk about some more fitness points for you guys on our future lectures. But so going back to the gut, leaky gut is a huge problem causing your immune system to flare up. But it doesn't only have to be leaky gut, right? I'm going to use a term right now, and I'd love for you guys to take this term home. It's called physical triggers of immune response. It's a long term, but just make sense out of it. Physical triggers, so something that's triggering me physically through my immune system. So physical triggers of immune response. And these things could be all the way things from stress, medications, enzymes that are coming from different things that you're putting in your body that your body doesn't like. It's coming from things that can be coming from food, additives, etc. That wake up your body. You wake up your body's immune system and cause your body to attack itself. You don't want that, okay? So it's safe to say that if we start at the gut and repairing that gut barrier, it is really interesting to see how a lot of times the person will start to improve, albeit if the um, let's say autoimmune response is still at the beginning, right? The gut is something that should always, in every case, every person, I don't care if you're the top athlete on the planet right now, every person has to watch their gut. Their gut is super, super important to improve their health. Now, um, when understanding the gut, then the question is, okay, so how do I improve my gut? What should I be feeling? When you have leaky gut, you're not really feeling anything. Some people are like, oh, is the heartburn the leaky gut? No, the heartburn is not the leaky gut. Does it contribute to also messing up your gut? Of course it does, because the the um, the pH of the gut is off. And we'll do a special lecture series on heartburn, and actually, it's pretty upside down how people see heartburn. They say it's too much acid. It's actually lack of acid. We'll talk about that at another point. Um, Not for today. But so when things are passing your gut, and I gave you guys an example as gluten, your body all of a sudden, your immune system now all of a sudden, when it sees gluten inside the bloodstream, and there's specific molecules or proteins inside the gluten that are really, really big nowadays. Remember, it's in the industrial engineering that we do on our foods that cause us to have these different molecules that our body can't digest or process very well. One of them is transglutaminase. There's another one like gliadin and gluteomorphin. So let's take transglutaminase, for example. Your body looks at the transglutaminase and says, hey, I need to get you out of here. Your body doesn't recognize that. And your body starts to attack it, right? And it mounts in a response to it. But then you keep eating the darn transglutaminase or the gluten, right? And the transglutaminase keeps coming in until one day you start to cross react to something else. So, for example, egg, quinoa, buckwheat, coffee. For example, one of the reasons I stopped drinking coffee because it was cross reacting for me. So I would drink the coffee, and this maybe happens to you. You drink coffee and you're like, darn, I feel so tired, right? After you drink, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you drink that you just put in the coffee, 5-10 minutes later you're yawning. Does that happen to you? Well, many times your body's thinking it's gluten and it's cross-reacting. So the more you expose yourself to that, the more you're going to get that gluten response, right? But now you're like, okay, let me take out the gluten. You take out the gluten, but you still drink the coffee, you still eat the quinoa, whatever your body's cross-reacting to, and you're still feeling like the gluten is there. But, and that's where it gets complicated. You need to do proper blood tests. We use a company called Cyrix. They do, I love their blood tests. You can actually see what gluten is cross-reacting with, and then you do a proper program to get the person off of that molecule that's cross-reacting. Like I said, it could be a bunch of different rice, it could be milk, or the casein in the milk, and the transglutaminase, they'll cross-react all day. So sometimes you have like dairy, and you're like, oh my God, I feel so tired with this dairy, right? Anyways, so, and as you guys can see, I can go really deep on this topic. I'm going to try to keep it a little superficial today. We're trying to make this into only maybe 30, 45 minutes max. So point is, now you're eating the gluten and you're cross-reacting to something that's not gluten. Okay, concept one, you react to gluten. Well, concept one, you get the leaky gut. Concept two, you react to something, say gluten. Again, it could be a million things. Gluten, I just like to pick on gluten. And then you cross-react to now something else that's not gluten. Even if you go gluten-free, now your body's learned how to cross-react to that. Until ultimately, concept four, one day your body, for example, it learned how to react to transglutaminase, right? It's reacting to transglutaminase, and one day it goes by the thyroid, and it looks at the thyroid, and it tells the thyroid, hey, gluten, I'm going to kill you. And your thyroid looks over and says, what'd you just say? It's like, I'm the thyroid. What are you talking about? And tells your T cells, right? And your immune system is like, no, 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 hold on. I'm the thyroid. We've been bros all our lives. It's been 30 years. What are you talking about? It's been 40 years. It's been 50 years. It's like, gluten. You've been fooling me. So your immune system goes a little rogue on you. And then the thyroid's like, no, 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 hold your horses, put the guns down. And all of a sudden, your immune system goes hard, starts calling over these big cells, macrophages and natural killer cells, and all these big cells that you don't want there. And then all of a sudden, now you have an autoimmune response. Get it? Your body attacks itself. Now, but it was started with something else. Now, mainstream medicine, many times, this is not recognized yet by mainstream medicine. However, the mechanism indeed is, right? I'll give you guys an example. Many of you have heard of rheumatic heart disease, right? What happens there? You will get a bug inside your body. You get a streptococcus type bug that attacks your body when you're younger. And then through molecular mimicry, your body now learned to attack that bug, and now that turns on the body to attack other parts of your body, your organs, including your heart, including a specific valve in your heart, which is called the mitral valve, right? Most of the times it's the mitral valve. I believe like 99% of the times. So the concept of molecular mimicry and cross-reactivity, etc., we do learn it in school, but we learn it applied in traditional medical school, but we learn it applied to bugs specifically and then to certain organs. But we don't learn it applied to foods, applied to chemicals in our environment, etc. So the concept is there, guys. I believe it's a concept that we need to explore more, because same way bugs can enter our body and hurt our or teach us to hurt ourselves, say, for example, through molecular mimicry, etc. Basically, a molecule mimicking another molecule, and then we attack that molecule. That can happen with foods, and that can happen with chemicals and the stuff that we're putting on our clothes to wash our clothes, and the stuff that we're putting in our hair, the deodorants, the perfumes, etc. I'm not trying to sound like Mr. Doom and Gloom, but I'm trying to tell you guys that there are things, those physical triggers of immune response, that are waking up our body to attack itself. And that leads us into these autoimmune scenarios. Now, you'll learn also, for example, that we have genetic predisposition to have certain diseases. That's absolutely true. But remember, with the advent of epigenetics, okay, with the advent of epigenetics, which we've talked about before here in our lectures, which is basically your environment actually is dictating 70% of your future health. So just because you have a gene doesn't mean you need to express that gene, right? And then there's the methylation of those genes, etc. So it's like the process, the piano and the pianist. You're the pianist, and there's a piano. It depends. The life you're going to live depends on the keys you're going to play, right? So think about that for a second. So just because you have those genes that would predispose you to an autoimmune condition, or say, for example, people have, just came to mind, HLA-B27, right? So those predispose you to the pair syndromes, right? So psoriasis, ankylosing spondylitis, irritable bowel disease, and Reiter syndrome, right? Or Reiter syndrome. So true, you can have that predisposition to these ailments, to these diseases, but how you're going to live your life will also dictate if you're going to turn these genetic signals that you're born with on or off. So keep that in mind. And again, it's not an all yes or an all no scenario. Some people, if they're born with stronger things that have a stronger genetic markers, so for example, say familial adenomatosis polyposis, the FAP gene, which unfortunately affects the colon very strongly. That's a little harder, right, to control with lifestyle. Can you, in theory, improve those conditions? Yes, but not perhaps take them completely away. Hopefully, we'll get to those days very soon in medicine, but we're still striving for that in science. But going back, and I don't want to go down too much of that loophole of what you can and can't turn off in your genes. I do want you guys to understand there is hope. I, for example, have a bad heart gene, for example, but it doesn't bother me because I'm living my life to the fullest that I can in the healthiest way I can, so that gene never turns on, and God willing, it will never turn on. Understand? So going back to these autoimmune diseases, for today, I want you guys to understand that physical triggers of immune response are real. These are things that are triggering our immune system. So I encourage you guys to find healthier food options, to find foods that are not processed, not as processed. I said not processed foods, right? We shop a lot in farms. here at my house. We buy a lot of farm food just to make sure we're not putting processed foods into our body. Also, look at removing completely, when I say processed foods, excitotoxins, additives, red 40, yellow 6, all these things from your life, MSGs, things that, for example, you find in almond milk. A lot of these gums, gum guar, carrageenan, yeah, almond milk made at home, etc., is great. But if you look, there's a lot of these gums, and not chewing gum. It's gums, these preservatives that are found in, for example, almond milk. And I know almost probably everybody listening to me right now, if you're listening to this, you're probably health conscientious, and you probably are drinking your almond milk, etc. But hate to tell you guys, almond milk has a lot of components very responsible for transecting that gut barrier, okay? So think about that for a second, guys. Next time you go shopping, next time you guys go buy even furniture in your homes, there's better options that you can buy furniture that's a little healthier for you and for your loved ones, okay? I pray that everybody stays healthy, that maybe today you've gotten a few pieces of advice to prevent you getting an autoimmune disease, to, even if you do have one, to help you improve your lifestyle. But the main takeaway today is watch those physical triggers of immune response. And I know it's a very broad topic, and the goal is not for you to leave here today. It's like, okay, but now what do I have to watch? Take it step by step. Start removing gluten. Start removing, for example, lactose as well. Look at some of the cleaning products in your home, and I'm not here to endorse cleaning companies, etc., but we have certain companies that we use that we find to be a little cleaner. Look at the water that you're drinking. Start looking at the things that your five senses are consuming. Okay, especially that you're eating and even smelling. These aerosols are not good for you. Okay, so think about that for a second. Physical triggers of immune response. Start by perhaps removing gluten, removing lactose, and if you really want to get to it, sit down with a clinician that understands this, does your blood work. I really recommend Cyrix. Cyrix is a great company to work with for understanding what is really attacking your body. And they even do this test. It's a predictive autoimmune test. They're looking at a few of the autoimmune diseases, a good number of them, to see what is manifesting already in your body. And it's actually what is starting to manifest in your body and actually fully manifest in the next 10 years. So it's a really cool test that I recommend for those of you, all right, that actually want to take a deeper dive into this, because autoimmune diseases, they can wreck your life. But at the same time, how you take it, something that can come to you with a very nefarious cloud to stop you can also be something that can enlighten you to the next steps of your life and help you to live a better and happier life. And that's something that happened to me. And take inventory of your life today. Take inventory to see the chemicals you're putting into your life. And that's a good way to think about it. Look at the chemicals and the things that you're putting into your life that might be hurting you, okay? And look for cleaner options, all the way from cleaning products to your food, to your water, to everything you're putting into your body, okay? And especially for your family, for the kiddos, all right? God bless you all. Have a great day. And listen, I hope these lectures are helping you guys to live a better, stronger, healthier life with more abundance. Love you all, Dr. D.